Hi guys, I'm Mitchell and welcome back to another episode of the Bossing It podcast. Today we're in Manchester with a very special guest, Mr Joe Sealey. Thanks for taking the time out.
Anytime, Mitchell.
So Joe, for those who don't know you, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Joe Sealey. I'm 42 years old. I'm a father, 3 children, got one wife, nearly said two, one wife, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. People would say that's what I've done since I was 21 years old. I've owned my own businesses and kept selling them.
So to learn a little bit more, and this podcast is all about business and success and learning to upgrade everyone else who's watching their entrepreneurial journeys, how did you get into the game of business?
Quite simply, I worked for somebody else for about 18 months and I didn't like working for somebody else. I didn't like having to stick to the rules. I didn't like working 9 to 5. My brain's quite fiery, quite creative, and I could always see the bigger picture. I never wanted to be that 9 to 5er sitting in an office working for somebody else. I could always see, and within a few months working for somebody else, I knew it wasn't for me.
So then, after you'd left your first job, what did you then get into doing?
Well, I went into sports agency. So I was a sports agent. I worked for, at the time, a company called Stella, who now probably the world's biggest. And I went out and I set up my own agency in the same industry because I do believe you should do what you know. And I'd known football all my life, so I went into being a sports agent.
So tell me a bit about the sports agency, the days ins and outs of owning a sports agency then.
Well, every day like anything is different, and people see, I think of sports agencies and they think of things like having Jerry Maguire, or they think of, the stuff they see on TV, but generally your day-to-day is full of problems and meetings. Most of your meetings are based on players with problems or boxers with problems or whatever sport you're doing, and then you're out up and down the motorway or on planes seeing people in different locations because clients don't tend to travel. You tend to travel to them, and it's a lot of answering the phone. Yeah, it's a lot of answering the phone.
So then, how long was that you were in that for? How long were you in that?
I was in that for 12 years.
12 years.
And I actually thought it'd be a lifetime. I didn't think it would ever change. I didn't think anyone would buy it. I didn't want to sell it. It wasn't for sale. And historically, not many people had ever sold them, because in the past, when they'd sold them, they're quite key people businesses. The agent leaves, and the clients leave with the agent, because it's about relationships in that game.
So then, maybe it wasn't during this 12-year period, but what was your first big business win? So
agencies as well were a little bit unusual. So you could have, I didn't have 100 of the best players in England, but I had quite a few quite quickly. I had 5 internationals, but unless their contracts or sponsorship deals are coming up, you don't actually earn any money. So I had these players and I knew they was valuable, but I had no money coming in. And I got to the point where I remember quite clearly I had an electrical company knock on my flat and say, we're going to cut you off on Monday. I couldn't pay my bills. I was about 75 grand in debt. I'd borrowed 50 off my mum. I couldn't ask her for any more money. But I had these players, and I got a phone call from Chelsea. And I went and played tennis with Roman Abramovich. And I transferred a player from West Ham to Chelsea. And it was off and running. The money come in. And it gave me the breathing room, the headspace for that to then progress to where I was now. And that was literally 2 days after. 2 days beforehand, I wasn't going to have no more electricity on Monday.
Yeah. So then, growing up, we know you were a West Ham under, what was it, under 20?
I was a professional, but I was really a reserve team player.
Yeah, but you started from the academy level, worked your way up, played for a few different teams.
Yeah, what I say is that the only thing I ever knew to that point was football. My dad was a footballer. I was born in football. I would say, there's been 4 professional footballers in my family. I didn't know anything else. I didn't know how to do anything else. I didn't know how to be a teacher. I didn't know how to be a bin man. I knew football. So without knowing it, I took the best piece of advice I give other people now: stick to what you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
So then, you've said there, football's all you know, and you've got a track record in your family for playing football and that. So you could kind of say that is in your DNA to be playing football. But that didn't happen as the way you wanted it to happen. Do you think it was also enrooted in you, in your DNA, businessman?
My dad did a lot of stuff outside of football. He always had a business outside. He had a car dealership. He's one of the founding members of Stella, the agency now, which is now the biggest in the world. He was one of the original shareholders. He'd always done other stuff, because when my dad played, although he played in the top league, he played for Man United, he played for clubs like that, they didn't earn the money they earn now. So we had a nice, I had a normal life, but I went to normal schools. We lived in a semi-detached, 3-bedroom house. And he always did other things to earn other money. So I do think what I learnt from him was a work ethic. He didn't just finish football and then come home all the time. He would be doing things as well. So I saw him working. And my mum worked.
So then, as well, how different is that then, coming from you're growing up, all you're going to do is play football, be a professional footballer all your life, to then the injury happened, and then boom, you're now into the new realm of, I don't know what to do, because a lot of people won't know what to do. They might give up on life, or
100%. There's so much that I probably learned in that first 5 years. I mean, for example, football is it's great, but you get a lot of discipline out of football. You get told you need to be there at 9 o'clock, and then you eat your breakfast and you train, and here's your kit, and it's all done for you. You're going to be there Saturday at 3 o'clock. You kind of, your whole life revolves around that job, and because your job's sport, you go home in the afternoon, you sleep, you eat your dinner, you might go to the gym, whatever. Everything's done for you, and your schedule is done. So without knowing it, I was quite scheduled. Now, when I didn't have that schedule, I didn't actually know how to do that for myself. And I found it really hard getting up early and getting a train to do something I didn't love to do. Because I'd get up at any time of day to play football, because I loved it. But then having to stay somewhere and somebody telling me I've got to be there at 7 o'clock, I've got to go to a reserve game in Chelsea, and stuff that other people would have loved to have done. And in the end, I did love it. But at the start, I resented it. I didn't like doing it. But what happened was, when I got my injury, without me knowing, my dad set that job up for me. So I kind of, I wouldn't say I had no choice, but I had no breathing room. I just went straight into it.
Right. Okay.
So, I got given that job in this company, and it was a great opportunity. I didn't realise it at the time. I didn't want to be there. Yeah. But it taught me a lot.
So then, as well, coming from the start of your entrepreneurial period, when you first started going on your own, to now, what, in your words, does being a business owner mean to you?
Well, you're the man at the top, aren't you? You're the most important person in that company. But I think you live and die by it, don't you? If it's your business and you're running it and you feed your kids on that business, this is why we all go to work, to have a better life. It's kind of your life. Everything gets a little bit entangled together. And I say to people that work there, they work for me now, people see the bit at the end of the road where you're successful. They don't see the years where it was hard and no one was there, and they get paid on a Friday even if you don't. And I think it's being responsible is what I'd say to be the business owner. You have to be a responsible person for yourself and others.
As well as being responsible, there's a lot of added pressure, as you are the one that it falls onto. As it said, how do you deal with that sort of pressure when if not, things aren't going well, some staff won't be able to get their wages, and obviously they're carrying it more than you, although you probably will first not take wages before staff.
Of course.
They don't understand that. They're thinking, I'm not getting my money, that's it. How do you deal with that type of pressure?
Well, you hope that you don't ever have to deal with that, because I've been quite lucky. I've never had to say to somebody on a Friday you're not getting paid, but that is devastating news to someone who works 9 to 5 and has got kids. And that shouldn't happen. I would hope that if that was happening, I would know weeks or months before, because you should know that as a business owner, and you try to make those people aware that this is coming. But I think that the stress levels of business is, there's so many great things for working for yourself, and also so many stressful things. It isn't always good, and some days it's because you're hungry and you're tired, and that might affect your mood. And some days everyone keeps knocking on your door and you can't get nothing done because people are asking you questions, or your phone's ringing all the time, but that's the responsibility that you have as a business owner. And the difference between being a successful business owner and one that fails is answering those calls and answering those doors. And I would say one of my strengths is making people happy at work, keeping people motivated and not stressed.
So what are some ways that you do that then? Because that is a very interesting topic, and a lot of people will want to know that. And maybe if they have trouble staff, or they're just not clicking with their staff members, what are the methods, or maybe not methods, but the way you go about dealing with your staff? Well,
I think you have to have two types of rules here. I think you have an overall rule for the business. This is how we are. This is what we stand for, and this is what we expect. But then you have and this might come from sport. Individual people have different individual personalities, have different roles within your business. You've been with me today. I walked in, I knew someone had the hump, I knew he was hungry. I went and bought him a coffee and a cake. Mm-hmm. Now, I do that automatically, but I do that for a reason. Because I can see he's demotivated today or something's wrong. Well, if you have something to eat and something to drink, you're probably going to feel better. You're then going to start talking and I'm going to get more out of you today. Or I can leave him there and I can keep going, what's wrong with you? Now, which one of those is better, carrot or the stick? And I think that a lot of the time, especially in the morning, I like to talk to everybody. I like to talk to them by their first name, ask them what's going on. I know someone manages the Sunday morning football team. I know what their kids do. I know, you know what I mean? And I don't do that because I think, I'm being fake and I think that's important. You spend a lot of time with the people that you work with, either on the phone or face to face or emailing. And if you don't have a personal relationship with them, when you ask for that hour or not to work through lunch or can you come here with me, they don't want to. But if you're actually all right with people, they'll do more for you.
Of course. And so on that topic as well, there's also, correct me if I'm wrong, a point where you could get too familiar with work.
I've done that.
And then that
I've done
always causes trouble wherever, if you've done something you shouldn't have done when you were with them because they're your friend first, and then when time to sack them, then it comes up, if you've done that. Is that a big thing?
Yeah, I've had a business that was like that. I did it with some friends and I wanted them to be involved, and I probably was too close to them and I'd given too much information. They weren't committing to it, but they knew all the finances, and then they start questioning you, and then you end up becoming resentful because you're the boss and you're paying the wages and the bills and they're not. And I learnt that mistake. There is a boundary that you need to be at where you are the boss. I'm pretty relaxed. I don't want to be called anything else except for my name. You can call me what you like, as long as you're doing your job. But at the same time, there's a line where they've still got to respect you. Mm. And it's not often I have to give someone a bollocking anymore. It hasn't happened for a few years. But I think that also happens out of respect, and the longer they work for you and the older you get more and more used to dealing with it. And I think that, I have certain habits. I like getting in the office early. I'm one of the first in. Sometimes I'm one of the last to leave. And not because I think that's important, it's because I like being there. And I think if they see that from you, you won't get that problem. But being too close to people, 1,000,000%. I've done it. I learned that lesson quite harshly, actually.
So then, as well, speaking on staff and that as well, a lot of staff also don't really understand, and maybe not staff in general, but the public eye to a business person who is successful now, like yourself. Mm. And I think a lot of people will either think, either you're a criminal or you've done something easy, you've got an easy life now, especially now that you're not working a 9 to 5, you can go do what you want. You work, and it's hard, it's work at different times.
Yeah.
What is the biggest thing that civilian and regular people that aren't business owners get wrong about running a business?
I think they think it's easy. It's the truth, and it isn't. Listen, it can be. You can get to a point where it runs itself, and it's very streamlined and everything's pretty motorised and automatic. But that takes a long time and a lot of hard work. I mean, when I started, I'd work every hour I could work. I'd be in the car 50,000 miles a year. I'd be flying all over the place. I was working in different continents at different times of the day and night because I wanted success. Now, I wanted a different type of success than I've actually got. In the end, I was motivated by different things than I am today. But I think people do think that. I think what they see is I'm 42 now. Now, my life should be easier than it was when I was 22, when I first started, 21, when I first started working for myself. Mm. I've had 21 years of running businesses. I've sold 3. That gives you some ease. But it's funny you said it, because a little while ago, I'm friendly with a guy now that I've been friendly with for quite a long time. And he said before he met me, he was told, I was in the Essex Mafia. Right, and this is someone I'm really friendly with.
That, sorry?
So he got told that I was in the Essex Mafia. That's how I made my money, right?
Yeah.
And it's someone I'm really friendly with now, and I couldn't stop laughing because now he knows me. But he said, like, when I first met you, it was about 5 years ago. He only just told me this. This is what people said, because I think people do see that you're able. Look, from having a business, being successful business, you can go away more. But why not? Why? Do you know what I mean? You take the risk.
Why not?
You have a family. Why not? And I think people see that, especially on social media. They don't really see in the 9 to 5.
Ins and outs, and they just see that.
And then where's the money come from?
Is reality, as you know. You post on holiday, and especially if as a businessman, you are making your money so you can do these things. As everyone is working for you, work so you can go on your holiday on a year and stuff like that.
But they don't see that you're up
at 6 in the morning for the 6 days of the week, but 100%. They'll see the photo on Instagram that you went out for a nice dinner, and that's what they believe you're doing at all times.
But you're still emailing it when you're on holiday. You've still got your laptop, you've still got your phone, you're still working in time zones. You know, we were talking before, you know, living in Dubai, I think there's an advantage because you're 3 or 4 hours in front, and I can get 3 or 4 hours jumping to the UK.
Exactly.
You know, but if I'm in the US, I've got to get up early because I can't be waking up with email, and I've got a day full of emails, and I'm 4 or 5 hours or 8 hours behind. I've got to, you know, you've got to catch it, but you know, it doesn't stop because you're away. You just learn that you can work from anywhere sometimes.
Yeah. So then, moving on. So you've been going back to the point. You've sold your sports agency.
Yeah.
You said you didn't want to sell it.
No.
What made you change?
I got a phone call. Like literally, I had a phone call, and my business had moved from. At that point, I did have about 100 players, and I did some boxers. I got involved in the gambling industry, doing the sponsorship. So I got taken to a gambling event by a friend of mine who works in casinos, and it was called ICE. It's like I don't know if it still is. It was like the biggest event for gambling. All the gambling companies are there, showing what they do and I met a couple of execs, and these were companies that were sponsoring football clubs, or they were different sports. And I started talking to the guy from Bet365, from SBO Bet, who were Chinese at the time. And I said, how much do you spend in the Premier League? And he told me it was a lot of money. It was £3 million a year. And this is 2012. So it was a lot of money. And I said, who do you do that with? And they told me it was a marketing agency. So I said, how does that work? I had some lunches with him, telling me they charge him a percentage. And I was like, okay. I left the meeting and I went, okay. And I picked the phone up and I called a couple of football clubs and I said, look, if I bring you this money, you have to pay me. So I switched it on its head. And then I went back to the gambling company and said, listen, you give me your money, I will deliver you more value for your money. So you're going to get more. I'll get you a better deal, and I will do it for free for you. How are you going to do that? The football club's going to pay me, but you're going to get us more minutes around the balls or shirts. Yeah, I'll get you a better deal because I knew the clubs. So they said yes. They gave me the money. I did the shirt deal at West Ham, and then I started attracting gambling companies to spend their money because I was free to them. And that's the way we were going. And then I literally got a phone call. It was a Tuesday. It was an American lawyer, and I put the phone down because I thought it was one of the clients taking the piss. I just thought it was someone winding me up, because they said that we're calling from it was a Los Angeles art agency, United Ice, and I was like, yeah, okay, leave me alone. Put the phone down. Rang me back. No, seriously, we're calling on behalf of them. They're looking to acquire sports agencies in Europe. I said, okay, we had a meeting and they ended up buying us. They bought 50 other agencies in all different sports. They bought F1, they bought rugby, they bought all. They wanted to move from entertainment into sports. So they spent a lot of money, and I was one of the companies they acquired. So
then what was next? What was the next? Was it more sports, or was it into something
different? I didn't want to. I'd had enough. To be honest with you, the phone call coming about, I'd had enough of sport. I probably would have moved that business away from the actual day-to-day of an agency, or would have brought people into that, and I would have moved into the marketing side more because it was easier. I liked it more. So I didn't want to do that. And also I had some covenants on my deal, and I was supposed to stay on for 3 years, but they didn't want me to after a couple of days, really. They just swallowed us up. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And I didn't do anything, first of all. I went on holiday a lot. I probably went on holiday about 15 times in the first year. I was literally away all of the time. But that was no good for me. I got bored. I got lazy. My brain got lazy, and I found myself waking up at like 11 o'clock in the morning and not doing a lot, and walking around the dressing gown, and it wasn't for me. And at the time, I thought I was doing some investments and property, but nothing that I had to do day to day. Like I was doing what we all do with our money, we reinvest it, but I wasn't actively working. So I met some people that, you know, worked at some gyms, and I thought, well, that's all right. I can open a nice gym in, you know, where I live, and I'll go there every day, and I'll do that. Nice small local business, nothing to worry about, and I'll do that, and that's what I did. In the end, I opened 5 in total, including an health food restaurant, which I regretted, but I did it. And I turned them into probably the biggest chain of UK startups, personal training studios. They were the highest quality, and I got a lot of advertising out of them. And I moved them on just in COVID.
So you just said it at the start there. So was it just going to be a lifestyle business?
Yeah.
Then? And were you even hoping to open more than one?
No. I'd said to them, look, because I said to the lads I'd brought in with me, because they were friends of mine. These are the people really I got too close to. That was the business I made that mistake in. That I wanted them to each open a studio eventually and just go off and do it. And I literally would sit there and work on reception, or, you know, sit there making people coffee in the coffee shop. And I just like because I'm a people person. I like chatting, and I'll chat. And then what I did well in that business was if 2 people at that gym did the same industry or whatever, I introduced them.
Right. Okay.
So I got people basically doing business within that studio, and we had a lot of high level, high net worth individuals. It was a personal training only gym. It was expensive. It worked, but no, I didn't have the intention of growing it to where it ended. But when I did grow it to where it ended, it wasn't enough for me.
So can I ask why then? Why after 12 years of running a very successful sports business, and I know you're saying the phone calls and that were tiring, why then though? You know, you've tasted a bit of the nice side of life, the super successful side of life. Why then would you then just go into basically buying your own 9 to 5 essentially? Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't say I didn't have to be there if I didn't want to be, to be honest, but I liked being there, a bit like I do now in the office. I think that at the time that's what I wanted. That buyout gave me enough money that really, if I was half sensible, was good enough for the rest of my life. And at the time, I was 32 nearly, and it was enough for me. I didn't have that in my head that I wanted to be worth 9 figures. I was all right, and I was more happy. I had other things going on in my life that I needed to sort out and concentrate on, and I chose to do that. I had no desire to have the stress that I had before. It wasn't on my radar at all. But then, as I've just said, and what you're alluding to, after 2 or 3 years, I'd had enough of dealing with small problems. Yeah. Like I'd had enough of talking to somebody about why they should stay at the gym for nothing wrong with it, 40 quid a week or whatever. Like why they should have an extra. I'd had enough of that. The bit that I liked doing at the beginning, it didn't matter. Really, it didn't matter to me whether it mattered to me that it worked, because it did, but it didn't matter. I didn't have to survive anymore in it. It was a lifestyle, and by the end of it, I'd had enough of it. I wanted more. I wanted to be big again.
Mm-hmm. So then, as well as that, you were saying at some point you ended up having 5, and the point was to basically essentially delegate the boys that you first started it with, and the other 5. How important, and although that didn't work, and whatever happened, how important is it to delegate though when you're trying to get super successful in your business? You can't be doing everything just by yourself.
No. And I think that takes time to learn that, actually, because when you first start, I suppose I was going back to the agency, I was scared to employ people. Worried about who they are, what they're going to do, if they're going to take, because I can be a bit of catastrophiser, me. So I was, they take my clients or whatever. When you learn that you have to trust people because you grow and you actually make more money by doing that, and you get the right people, you change your business. You're not running your business anymore. You're running people. Right? You're managing people. That's how I see it, and you're pushing that train in the direction you want it to go. And what you need to do is find a layer of management between you and everything else. But in them gym businesses, because of the size of it and they were localised, it was difficult, and I couldn't. The people I wanted to do that job didn't want to do that job.
Right.
They were scared to take the jump and not have clients, and that's probably the point where I went, no, I'm not here. I'm not here for this. If you like, it was a great business. It was a great local business, probably one of the most successful in that local area. And probably in that industry, it was probably the most successful in that industry. It pumped out turnover and profit, but it wasn't never going to be international business again.
Yeah. So obviously that's a massive lesson learned from you in that point. And since then, you've then built teams of good staff and successful teams in various different sectors.
Yeah.
What have you learned over the years to then be able to do that so successfully?
For me, the key thing when you employ someone, they've got to be able to do the job, but it's their personality. I really do think that team ethic from sport comes across my business. Like, people need to get on. You're going to get different personalities because you are. I look at certain aspects, and you heard me this week talk about this a little bit with somebody. I don't want 9-to-5ers. You know, there's not often we've had someone say something's happening at 5:30, so I've got to leave because my job's between 9 to 5. I need people that are flexible, entrepreneurial, creative, good at sales, good with people, and can get on in a team atmosphere. And I think that you have to build a team of people, and that are serious when it needs to be, but also can laugh. I think that the happier the team is, even under stress, and sometimes, you know, a lot of the time it is stressful, they're busy, the more successful the business will be, and also they will be. And they let you lose less people. You know, if it's stressful all the time and you're a shouter or you're somebody that, you know, whips them every day, they leave. But if you can create a successful team that are happy, you also get the staff from other people because they want to work for you.
So I've been staying with you for the past week, or since Monday anyway, and I've got to know yourself, Nicole, and the day-to-day lifestyle. Now, to get a little bit for the audience's sake, your daily routine.
Yeah.
What does that look like then? I know it's different. It's changed every day this week, but I will say your morning routine.
That's the same. Yeah.
Is the same.
Yeah, it's naturally evolved for me. That hasn't happened out of necessity or because I thought it was best for me. It just has. I wake up around 5. I don't need an alarm. I wake up. I get up immediately. I don't lay in bed, and I go downstairs and I get a coffee. I drink some water and I go in the gym. And then I come back and I do some emails or whatever I'm doing at home. Might have something to eat, I might not, and I generally go to the office. It's been a little bit later because you've been with me, but I literally sometimes will go to the office at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, if I finish doing what I'm doing.
Your point in trying to seem a bit unprofessional like that?
You're younger, you need more sleep than I do. And I do think that, but I think that hasn't happened out of me going, I've got to be up at 5. It's just how my body's worked, and especially as I've got older. When I was younger, I definitely slept longer. It wasn't my routine. But it's something that I've realised keeps me level. My brain. I'm probably dyslexic and I've definitely got ADHD. I've been tested for that, and I think that if I don't manage those aspects of my life, I have massive other problems. So I can fall apart really quickly, but also I can fix it really quickly by staying on a very simple road that actually I enjoy doing. Yeah. You know, I like exercising. You know, I like doing the way I do it. I said to you earlier, I find that my emails are better in the mornings. By 2 o'clock, I don't really want to email people, you know. So I don't reply after a certain time, unless it's a super important person or client, then I have to. I choose to do those other emails again in the morning because my emailing is better. So it's learning those skills. But yeah, my routine to me is essential to my life, not just my business. I think my family life would fall apart, and I think my work life would fall apart if I didn't stick to that format. Yeah,
and we were also speaking a bit earlier as well. We've had a load of conversations over the week as well, which we probably should have saved for here, but we're bringing them up again.
That's all right.
So you say you like going to work because, or the office anyway, because a lot of people will work from home and get on fine. But I myself, as well, now after speaking to you, I can see it myself. I find it really hard to be in the same place that you spend your time and watch TV and play Xbox if you're my age and eat your dinner, and then we're also working in the exact same room.
Yeah.
You know, I find it incredibly hard to do that. And you were saying something similar. You'd rather sit and go to the office somewhere else because you'll be in the same situation.
Yeah, I mean, my wife's a great example. The opposite. She can literally work from anywhere. She could sit in the front room, open that, and be disciplined. I'm not. It's the truth. I've got office at home. I can sit in the office at home for a bit and do it. But if I sit in front of the telly, I put the telly on, I'm eating a sandwich, I'm watching Sky Sports News, and I'm not doing no work.
You're wired into the news.
Yeah, I'm not doing no work. No, because I end up relaxing. And I think for me, you need to have like quite distinctive environments, and my environments equal what I'm doing. But at the same time, I'm able to switch off quite quickly when I walk in the door. So if I'm having a really bad day at work or stressful, or I'm in the car on the phone, when I walk in, as soon as that phone call finishes, I can just be Joe, dad, husband, whatever, and get on with having dinner. And not worry about it too much. Obviously, there's times where it comes in, but I think for me, you need that change of. It's like my mindset changes as I walk in that door, and I like being there.
Yeah,
you know, I like being there.
So because obviously I've interviewed a few different people, and going back to my first interview was with Dan Pena, and his phrase is "there's no work-life balance," but you've kind of maybe not mastered it in a sense, but that seems to be the way that you're able to work, as in you can go to the office and yes, you're going about, like for example, you were going up to Sheffield to do something on Tuesday, you were going down to London next week, etc, etc. You are going and doing stuff, but then you can come home and that's just like your place where you can switch off and completely forget about it essentially if you wanted to.
I would say you've hit it on the head there. That is me. That is where I'm at home. Listen, you work for yourself, you're going to get phone calls sometimes that you don't want to take at night time, and you have to. But I can, at this point in my life, there's certain things that I can filter out now. You know, I couldn't when I was in my 20s, and it was like a million miles an hour. But at the same time, I had a lot of other problems because I didn't do that. I work better, I'm more successful, I'm a better father and a better husband because of the way I work, if you like. And I think you ain't different people, you're the same person. But you can have different personalities across different parts of your life. And I think for me, that's really important because for one, if I'm not happy at home, I won't be happy at work. That is really important to me. And it really, I think that everything I've got or done comes from that home. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's the most important thing to me. And I think that if I don't get up at 5 o'clock and I'm not happy and I don't talk to my wife and I don't watch the telly and I don't relax, I'm going to be terrible at work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you just said, I don't care where I've got to go and when I've got to go. So I don't do 9 to 5. I was in Sheffield this week, all day. Next week I'm away. I'm in London, and unfortunately on one of the days there's a really important meeting in Birmingham, and I've got to drive from London to Birmingham to do a meeting and then drive back to London to do something, and actually driving back to Manchester that same day. And that's the way it is.
Back up again. Yeah.
It's the way it is. So I mean, that'll be a long day. I don't use drive. I like driving. I don't like being a passenger. I'll talk on the phone, and that's part of reality of running your own business. I'm away for 4 days. So what?
Yeah.
But when I come home, I'm that person again.
And that's leading back to as well, what do people not see you doing and what do they misconcept about running a business?
Yeah.
That is a substantial amount of work, and it's just effort for really, what is the point? And you're going that way, but you need to do it. It's necessary in order to get things done that you want to get done.
Unfortunately with that, it was either 2 really important meetings and their scheduling got overlapped, and one was booked 2 months ago and one was booked this week, and I need to be at those meetings. They are 8-figure meetings and it's like imperative that I'm there. And a lot of people would move something else and not go back to London after, but I am going to, and it doesn't matter. And I think you heard it say to me yesterday. I was talking to a developer that works for me, product developer, and she said it was bank holiday Monday. I said, what's bank holiday? And I think that's that's what you get. Well, so like I'm going to London Sunday. I will be in our office in London on Monday. Not everyone will be, that's up to them, but I will be.
Definitely. That's you just mentioned bad quality there. I have to bring this in. I was on the phone this morning, and you were speaking to your business partner, and I was on the phone, and it was someone from Spain, and they are notorious for taking every single bank holiday. Every single shop will be shut. Like everything in Spain, a bank holiday is a bank holiday. No one's working. Every shop's shut. So he phones me and he goes, "Oh, your bars in Spain busy?" Yeah. I was like, can I get someone to meet you tomorrow? Thing like, oh yeah, but it's a bank holiday tomorrow, so no, I can't do it. So today, it's bank holiday, and he's like, "Are you still working?" Like surprised that we were still on the go, and you're just like, "Yeah, mate, we don't. The banks take a holiday, but not us." But
there's no day off if you run the business.
No. And 9 to 5 doesn't work either, because if you get a phone call at 12 and your business is burning down, you need to go and get it.
Listen, it does not work. 9 to 5, if you want to be successful, doesn't work. At the same time, you can go and work from anywhere you like, but you work all the time. You are work. You just, you have more choices, but you have less choices as well, sometimes. But you have to make those hard decisions when you're younger, and then it's natural as you get older.
Yeah. So, I think we'll move on a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk Mr Whippy.
Okay.
How did we get into that?
It's a really quite a random story, if I'm honest with you. I was sitting in Dubai next to a pool. Donwall's. I was at Donwall's house, and her son-in-law was there, Michael. His name's Michael Jackson, actually, but he's not. He's from Huddersfield, and he had the trademarks for Mr Whippy, and he was operating it in Dubai in ice cream stands up to COVID, and COVID came and he hadn't, and he's got other businesses, and we were just talking about it. I'd known him for a little while. I didn't know him really well, and he was telling me about it, and I was like, "That's me. Like I know what to do with that. Brand selling is really what I'm doing, marketing." And I said to him, "What do you feel about this?" I made a phone call. I spoke to one of the largest cake factories in the UK at the time in cupcakes. And I said the day after, "Listen, I can do this. I can get this in all national retail. I know how to do it. I'll get it on telly. We'll market it. We'll brand it. That was over 2 years ago. We launched that product after 18 months. It was the biggest selling cake of the year. We're now launching into sweets. We're launching into ice cream mixes. We're launching into donuts, factories, ice cream robots." And I really got that business based on that conversation around that swimming pool. We did the deal really quickly. It was a friendly deal. And it's growing arms and legs. It's an international brand. We deal in multinationals. We're in 6 or 7 countries at the moment. And it's going to keep growing. It'll be a 9-figure business.
Yeah. So the reason for that slight jump into what we were just talking about to Whippy was because it's actually running and owning businesses. It's no matter what sector, and correct me if I'm wrong again. Is it the same? Like it is the same in the serious parts of it. It's all the same.
I was talking to somebody last week, and they was asked similar questions to what you said, and I said, "How have you gone from like sport gyms and into that?" Bearing in mind that,
So basically complete polar opposite.
Yeah, I mean, they call it FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, right? And it's a complicated process, and you're dealing with people like Unilever, and you're dealing with people, some of the biggest companies in the world, right? And I said, there's no difference between selling a Premier League footballer and a cake. There is no difference. I'm selling a product to somebody that wants to buy it. Now, how you do that is the skill. That's the skill, and that's not easy. Now, what Mr Whippy had an advantage over to other brands is everyone heard of it, which is what I saw. Because when I first started talking about it to the cupcake people, they didn't see it. They went like, "I don't get it." I said, have you heard of McDonald's? Yeah. Have you heard of Nike? Yeah. I said, "Have you heard of Mr Whippy?" And they went, "Yeah." I went, and there you go. So has everyone else. So whatever we put, as long as it's labelled correctly and the flavour tones are right, and it's around what it stands for, because it's a 1958 heritage company, ultimately from the UK, and it is what we all know it for, it will sell. And I took the concepts from my other business, especially sport, and I put them into this business. I mainly concentrate on sales, marketing and branding. That's what I'm good at. And as I said, no matter what you're selling, you are selling. Now, what I find that people can't do, and I say this quite a lot, and I use the image, you know, the picture of, have you ever seen like Through the Looking Glass films? Yeah, you walk through or the Lion and the Witch in the Wardrobe.
I haven't.
Okay,
no.
so you can't. You a lot of people when they come up with an idea, and they haven't got a brand that anyone's heard of, but they know your podcast, right? Bossing it. You know what that podcast is, right? But how does Sarah in Leicester know what that podcast is? She doesn't. So you've got to, my philosophy is when I'm selling, I've got to pretend I'm them, who I'm selling to. What don't they know about this that I'm holding, whatever it is? Because I know everything about it. And when you're in a business that you're running and you think everyone knows that. They don't. So you've got to teach that person you're selling to why they need it so much that they have to have it, and why their retailer has to have that product. So I sell when I think of it as a reverse. I want them to learn everything I know about that product and then want it as much as I want it.
Yeah, right, okay.
And that's where my skill lies. And that's what has made all of my businesses successful. I've never sold something thinking, well, I know everything about it, you know nothing about it, or you know everything because I know everything. I have to sell a footballer like, why do you need that player?
Yeah.
You know, what is the reason you need that? There's a reason I'm in this room. What is that reason? And I do the same thing with product. It's the same concept. It doesn't matter what you're selling, but you have to think that the person you're selling to knows nothing about you or your product. And by the end of that meeting, hour, 20 minutes, whatever it is, they have to know everything. And they have to want it so much, they email you immediately.
Yeah. So, Mr Whippy, very, very big in the UK anyway, ice cream brand.
Yeah.
Since 1958, you say?
Yeah.
I remember going out as a kid, getting a 99p flake, sauce in the vans, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Why then take such a big risk when you've got the Mr Whippy name, the biggest in the UK, and then start going and doing cupcakes?
The cupcakes come because it was the person I knew. So I like to keep, as I said, simple. Keep it simple, right? I got taught when I was younger, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, right? That's one philosophy that I got told by a very successful man, and I liked it. And I knew the guy with the factory of the cupcakes. And I didn't know nothing. So 2.5 years ago, I didn't know anything about retail. I didn't know any buyers, I didn't know no owners of supermarkets, I knew nothing. I know them all now, right? But so I went to like I've always said, do what you know. Rang the person I knew that was in retail. Mr Whippy was never available on a retail shelf, ever, right? Before. He was available, as you said, as you saw it. And none of that really was the truth. Ice cream vans are not operated by Mr Whippy, and they never have been since 1960. There was 6 vans owned by Mr Whippy up to 1960, and it went bust. So when you see a Mr Whippy ice cream van, they're serving whatever ice cream they bought. It isn't Mr Whippy.
It's not Mr Whippy.
No. I know that blows your mind. It blew my mind when I found out. It isn't produced. Right. In fact, we're only starting to produce it now.
How were they allowed to?
No one went after them. No one did anything about it. Like if you look at it, there's a company in Leeds with 6 vans. There's one woman in Leicester with 1 van, and actually there's less vans than you think with Mr Whippy on it. Now I've told you, when you see them, you'll notice it. There's different names of things, and we have conversations about it because we own the trademarks for the name, right, and the logos. And some people in our business think we should stop people using it. I don't.
It's free marketing.
Free marketing, and it's heritage marketing, right? It's what everyone's believes it is. But it's really, if you knew the basis of it, it's kind of, it is what it is. But it needed to be modernised. It needed to be brought into the current century. It needed to be updated. Otherwise, that heritage disappears. So that's what I set out to do. I really focused on, right, this is something everyone knows. They know it for something. They're not sure why, though. You know, they know it's an ice cream van, but they don't know it doesn't do ice cream. Right? But if we stick to those philosophies of that business they think exists but doesn't, it will sell.
It will sell, yeah.
And then the next part was, it will sell the first time. So you'll walk into an Iceland, you'll see it and you'll pick it up because you know the brand. I'd pick it up. But will you pick it up a second time? Is that product good enough to stop you buying a Cadbury's one? Okay? And that took 18 months to get right. Right? So, because I'm like, anyway, I want it out now, I want to sell it and I want to, whatever, because I am ultimately a salesman. Mm-hmm. But my partner, Michael, is fantastic at, no, it doesn't represent the brand, it needs to be da-da-da-da. And he's taught me that, and I'm like it now. And he spent a lot of time working on flavours. No, that icing does not taste like vanilla ice cream, that strawberry sauce does not taste like strawberry, that bubblegum sauce is wrong, the colour's wrong, da-da-da-da. And it went on for 18 months. We had hundreds of trials, and we got to the product we got to. And you know what? It worked. And the average rate of sale of a pack of cupcakes in the UK is 10 packs a week per shop, per retail shop, right? We sell a rate of 22.
Wow.
So we were 2.2 times more than anyone else.
Is that the highest, if not one of the highest?
I would say it is. I can only know our rate of sale and the average rate of sale in the UK. I couldn't tell you what Sandhill sells at, but I would say yes. And that worked for, we could say our branding worked, our trademarks worked, our marketing worked, we had TV behind us, but we did what it says on the tin. And all of the products that are being now rolled out will do that. The sweets are a fantastic product. They've taken a year. They are actually NAFNAC, and that's no artificial colours, no artificial sugars.
When will they be released?
I think towards the end of the summer. They've been ordered, they're being made. They are vegan. They're made with fruit juice. They're for kids with, attention deficit disorder or whatever. It's for everybody. But there's no real nasties in them. So they're a clean product. And that will be the first ever clean product for Mr Whippy. And that's a risk. Because we are a treat brand, and they are a treat, they're sweet. Mm. But they're a sweet, a little bit like other brands like Candy Kitten. They're better than Candy Kitten, actually, but they're a similar concept to it. Yeah, so everyone can have them. And that comes from a few conversations, me having problems and, ADHD and stuff, and I couldn't have sugars when I was a kid, and Michael wants better for his kids. And it's a real change for the brand. Because it's not sugar, it's for the sugar.
So what prices are these going to be at? Are these going to be either, as a lot of places know, Candy Kitten's quite expensive, to be honest with you. And although they're good for you, they are quite expensive. Are you going to be on par, more expensive, cheaper?
No, I think depending, I can't set your retail price. I don't know if you know this. It's kind of illegal now for me to tell a retailer what they can retail at. Right. I can only sell it to them at a price and they retail for what they want. Mm-hmm. But I would like to see these somewhere on shelf from £1.25 to £1.50, which will make us half the price of Candy Kitten and 100% cheaper if you buy them in WH Smith's for their £4.25 or something. No, I think what's key for us as a business is that we stick with, and I'm strong on this, we are a family brand, family values, and it needs to be a family affordable. Mm-hmm. I don't ever want to hear that a Mr Whippy product is too expensive for somebody to buy. Listen, we'll never get to a 99p ice cream again because it doesn't cost that anymore to make. No. But if we could, we would. And I think that we want that, and I think that's our key value. So you'll never see a pack of Whippies on shelf at £2.50, £2, you won't. They're the same weight and the same packaging as a Candy Kitten as well. They're actually made in the original Candy Kitten factory. So, we haven't copied Candy Kitten. It's just a brand that's a good example of. Yeah. Listen, and they've done a fantastic job at doing what they want to do. But we ain't that brand. We are Mr Whippy. We are for everybody. Mm. Whether you're on benefits or you're a multi-billionaire, you've probably heard of Mr Whippy. Yeah. So I want it to be available for everyone. I
really like that, to be honest. I like the thinking behind it as well, to be honest. So you've definitely thought it all the way through from the minute you saw it, where you're like, that's Mr Whippy. Everyone knows that. Yeah. Everyone knows that. Because I think maybe not young kids nowadays, but if I was younger and you asked even a 4-year-old what it was, they'd know ice cream or whatever it is. And no matter what, we've got different levels of wealth in our family. You always get the ice cream man coming round the block and all that. Yeah, et cetera.
And I think that when it started, this is a key point here. When it first started, you had meetings with retailers, right? And no brand, not many, the Coca-Colas do, whatever, but the most brands have a differential between a discounted product and a top 4 retailer, right? A Tesco's.
Right.
They have a different size bag or they have a different flavour. We don't.
It's the same all around.
Same. You got different variants, they can buy them, but they're available to them all.
Yeah.
And people thought at the time when we started, we launched in Iceland, they wouldn't go to top 4 because we're in Iceland at £2 a pack of 4, which is it's cheap as own brand, right? Cupcakes. There's a lot of good products in our cupcakes. They're actually, they should probably be £3.25, right, for 4. But we got them in at £2. And I kept that price point right across. I kept it in Herons, where it went to next. I kept it in Farm Foods, who I loved working with. Home Bargains, we were really strong in there. We was in Morrison's, we was in Asda, we was in Co-op, right? There is a massive price differential between Herons and Co-op.
Yeah.
Right? Who's a convenience retailer, and our price point was the same. And they all took it, and they all sold. We were the biggest selling. So Co-op launched a 2-pack, and the average 2-pack in Co-op, there's 4,000 Co-op stores in the UK, I think sell somewhere around 3,600 boxes. So times that by 6 a week. So there's 18,000 packs normally in Co-op, right, of each brand. We sold 8,000 boxes in a 2-week period. So we doubled in Co-op. Biggest selling 2-pack ever. We made bubblegum only. And it was on shelf at 125. So, as I said, we had to educate or try to change the philosophy in branding and retail that went across it, that we didn't have to be different in Co-op to Herons. Same people can buy the same product. Doesn't matter what your background is, you can still buy it. And I think that's important. We don't want to have a difference between rich and poor. There isn't.
Why did you say? Why do you love working with Farm Foods? Sorry. Can you say that?
Yeah, I mean, I like the people there.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. Quick thinking, quick reactive. There is a difference between working with discounters and top 4. They have a schedule of releases. A discounter can buy your product today and put it on the shelf next week. That won't happen over here. That's planning.
It takes
We've got a launch in Co-op soon, and I know that's been happening since January.
Yeah.
If I sell to a discounter, I can literally sell it Monday, and it's within about 10 days it can be on shelf. They're quick. But I saw Farm Foods as I contacted Farm Foods, and they was like, "Well, not everyone contacts us. Well, why not? You're huge in this area of the country. You've got 4 depots. You've got 300 stores, and you're having a refurb, and you're growing, and you've got some superstores now." And if you look at the demographic of a shopper there, we're a perfect brand. I see that as a perfect retailer for us as well. And I contacted her, and like always, I said, "I'll come and see her." Drove to Birmingham. They've got an office above one of their shops. I ain't like one of the big flashy offices above their shop. Sat in there, I said, "Look, I want to work with you. This is our product. It's the same price everywhere. You can have it. Do you want it?" She wanted it. And we're working with them. It's I don't see a difference in the retailer. I don't look at it like that as a brand. We wanted to sell. Our philosophy in our first board meeting about retailers was we sell to everyone. And when someone at our meeting was like, "No, you can't," or "Yeah, we can. It will work." What's the difference? You know, we're not picky. We're not going to pick. We only want to sell to this end. I want to sell to all of it.
So what's the next for Mr Whippy? Is there any? Oh, I know you'll have a lot of things going on that you can't say about as well, but so you've got the sweets coming out.
Yeah, they're coming out. We are actually now building. You're the first person I'm going to be telling on this. We are building the first super factory in the UK for donuts.
Right.
We're gonna produce 1 million donuts a week, fully automated. It's a really exciting project. It's a huge investment, and it's a product that no one's seen in the UK. We're not going to be making sugar donuts that you see in a brown bag for a pound. It isn't that. These are going to be fully a luxury product, but again at a Mr Whippy price. Currently, you couldn't make this product in the UK you wouldn't be able to buy this product for less than £4 for one donut. And I'd like to see it when it's done in under 2.
Under 2.
Yeah, and I think this is probably the biggest gamble, biggest investment I've ever made in a business that we're involved in. It's a huge investment. It's close to an 8-figure investment at the minute. and it's probably means that I'm going to spend half of my life in Sheffield, which is where it's going to be built. But we saw an opportunity for the brand and in manufacturing, and we're going to go for that, and it's happening.
So then, you've just said there as well, could be a 8-figure deal.
It is.
Going on. Well, it is. What? How do you deal with that risk to reward ratio? How do you even fathom thinking, I'm going to put in this amount of money before even getting anything back?
I've seen it. I don't know if that's natural or whatever. I've always been able to see what's coming in all of my businesses. Like, what's the next thing? And I could smell out last year that people were looking for these type of products in retail. There's all of these, like, especially in London, there's a lot of patisseries selling these donuts. There's some great places, by the way, but they're £8 to £11 a donut. Right?
Okay.
But people are queuing down the road from. When people start queuing for product, retailers start listening, or start watching. Because the main thing for retailers is, does that product bring more shoppers into my store? Literally, it's that simple. It's not easy to do it, but that's the process. And I started to be asked in meetings last year, do you the only one that does this? Do you do this? No, but I can get it. It was going to cost $1.95. That's too expensive for how it works, And the thing with donuts are they have a short shelf life, maximum 3 days. Then you're going to chuck them. So you need to be able to sell. You can't sit on shelf for a long time. So I've started to smell out that this is coming. I started to hear about tenders. I started to see it. I started to feel it. I started to see different type of donuts coming into retailers that are not quite working. Krispy Kreme started to get a bit of a presence in certain retailers, and we can do a much better job than that. And once that's complete, and that it's going to be hopefully by some point next year, you will see a whole new product range in the UK in retail, not just in Whippy, potentially in our own brand for supermarkets. It will do that as well. It's a big factory. As I said, it should be able to produce 52 million donuts a year, and those 52 million donuts need to be sold.
You need a lot of shops.
But you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised the volumes of retailers.
Yeah, I can imagine some. Well, think of Tesco and stuff like that, and they've got how many stores?
They own other brands. I mean, Tesco's probably responsible for somewhere in the region of 8,000 stores.
Yeah,
there's 2,000 superstores. So, they'll move a lot of product. All of them do. These are multi-billion-pound companies. I'm amazed. Even people don't realise that even in Iceland, 1.2 billion last year.
Oh, definitely, yeah, huge. They're even out in Spain and everything now. I don't know who owns it, if it's Tesco or licensed, but so they've got Iceland. There's a new Tesco in Spain, but they're all called the Overseas Group.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that,
but
that, so that's like Tesco, Iceland, and all that out in Spain, and it's just sells all but they actually charge you a little bit more. So it's
they will do because of export and import. But the funny thing is, we sell product now. Canada, we sell to Canada, we sell to Dubai, Saudi Arabia. When you work in retail, and I kind of love this, you sell by the lorry, the container, right? Which is like in cakes, it's 25,000 cakes an order, minimum. In sweets, it's 105,000 packs of sweets in a lorry. So, but to ship it, you freeze it. And then they get defrosted when they land, right? It costs a penny more to make that product and freeze it and ship it to anywhere in the world than it does to sell it to Tesco's in Enfield. So for us, it's not a great deal. It just means it's on water, and they call it on water. You're in containers. Dubai fly in, but everywhere else it's on ships.
Has there been any really bad scares or let's just say like nightmares that just
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth. I mean, we've had circumstances where a lorry I was on holiday actually. This is what happens. I was on holiday. I'm not in the factory. They loaded the lorry wrong, which basically when you load a lorry, you load the pallets so they don't move. You need them close enough together so they don't rock. And it was going to Home Bargains, and it was a big delivery, and it was a Saturday. And I got a call, and it was like the delivery's been rejected, because you also have to deliver it on a certain time, and otherwise they reject it. So what has happened? I don't know. I open up my messages, and the container, the pallets are toppled. So they left too big a gap down the middle. And they started and all the products had moved. Home Bargains had opened the lorry, saw it, shut it. I said, go away. So they returned. They're entitled to do that. So 25,000 packs, a 2-pack a pack, 50 grand, right? It's a lot.
That's done.
Done. You've got to then remake that by Monday and get it in. Otherwise, you're losing your retailer as well. So that's got to be reproduced.
Is that a contract breaker then?
Yeah.
If you miss 1 week, they reject it and you don't sort it.
Potentially.
Right.
It's a big problem because for retailers, and I love this about it, and it's an easy way to explain it. Shelves don't have elastic bands, so they only get so much product on them. So you need to be better than whoever they.
Yeah.
If you're going on, something's coming off. But at the same time, if you ain't delivered and that shelf space is empty, you are dead. Like they literally will kill you. Like ring you up and slaughter you down the phone, and you're done because they're not making any money out of that foot of space. So it's a no-no. So you've got to solve that quickly and get it back in and apologise. Take the costs. And there might be other costs that are involved in that damage.
Yeah, because as obviously you'll see it yourself, the supermarket business is actually real estate inside the shop. It
is completely.
Yeah, so I can imagine big problems.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you sit in meetings and they'll say, well, why should I take off Warburton's bread for you? It's a good question, isn't it? You know.
So then how did you handle that? Did you just get it sorted? You had to...
So they had to remake it. We had to bring a night shift in. They remade it and it was delivered Monday morning.
Fine.
But stuff like that is where I go, that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Like I don't go, oh, we can't do nothing.
No, you need to,
It'll cost us more, but in the long run, if we don't do it,
it'll cost us even more.
We might as well have the business.
Yeah.
Because we're in the business of retail now.
Definitely.
You know? So, I think in the next 12 months as well, you'll see us probably move into direct to consumer in some way. You know, I don't know how that will look, but there will be an online
way of getting it.
Of getting a Whippy product. I'm not sure exactly what or where or what it'll be. Most probably TikTok. Most probably Amazon, and most probably our own website, because the volumes that are being moved through that at the moment are huge.
Yeah.
You know, Dubai Chocolate Bar last week sold 193,000 units on TikTok. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 193,000.
They are good.
It's a lot of pistachio. It's a lot of turnover when it's 12 quid a bar, because there's no retail margin, is it? You're keeping all the margin. So we'll look at that in some way, and we'll work out a way to be family friendly with that.
Definitely. Well, Joe, I'd like to thank you for your time here. It's been an amazing chat.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cheers, Mitchell.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
No problem.